The training hall on Station Kara smelled like sweat and ozone. Doyen stood in line with 40 other cadets, watching the holographic arena flicker to life in the center of the massive room. His hands hung loose at his sides and his breathing stayed calm and steady. Around him, alien cadets shifted their weight, checked their weapons, and whispered to each other in languages that clicked, hummed, and growled. Doyen understood most of them now. He had been at the Galactic Military Academy for 8 months and his translator implant worked perfectly. That meant he also understood when they talked about him. "The human will fail again," said a tall Vryn cadet named Tarek. His scales shimmered blue and green under the lights. "His species is too weak. Soft bones, thin skin. They only made it to space because their world was easy." Another cadet laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. Doyen said nothing. He never did. Back home in the mountains, his grandmother taught him that silence was a weapon too. Let others waste their breath. Save yours for when it matters. Instructor Velnus entered the hall and every cadet went silent. The Skarath officer stood 3 meters tall, his reptilian body covered in natural armor plates. His eyes glowed yellow in the dim light. He had fought in 12 wars across the galaxy, and his presence made even the largest cadets feel small. "Today's assessment is simple," Velnus announced. His voice echoed off the metal walls. "You will face a simulated opponent. Your goal is to survive for 3 minutes or achieve a kill. Most of you will fail. Some of you will embarrass yourselves. Begin." The first cadet stepped forward, a massive warrior from the Kron species. The hologram activated, creating an enemy soldier. The fight lasted 90 seconds before the Kron cadet won. Velnus nodded approval. One by one, cadets entered the arena. Some won, many lost. The holographic opponents adapted to each fighter, learning their patterns and exploiting weaknesses. When Doyen's turn came, whispers spread through the watching cadets. "Watch the human fail. Maybe he will run. That is what prey does." Doyen walked to the center of the arena. The hologram flickered and formed into a Skarath warrior, identical to their instructor. It carried a plasma rifle and moved with deadly precision. The simulation began. Doyen moved sideways, low and smooth. The hologram fired, and he was already somewhere else. His footwork made no sound. He did not rush. He did not panic. He watched the way the hologram shifted its weight before shooting, the small movement of its shoulder that came before each shot. Patterns. Everything had patterns. The hologram charged with a blade. Doyen stepped inside its reach, too close for the blade to be effective, and struck at the knee joint. The hologram stumbled. Doyen's training blade found its throat. The simulation ended. Time, 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Velnus said nothing, but his eyes tracked Doyen as the human walked back to the line. It was not the fastest victory of the day. It was not the most impressive. But something about it made the instructor pause. After the assessment ended, Velnus dismissed the class. Cadets filed toward the exit, already discussing their performances. Doyen picked up his gear and started to leave. "Human." Doyen turned. Velnus stood 10 meters away, arms crossed. "You fight strangely," the instructor said. "You do not use strength. You do not use speed. What do you use?" Doyen thought about his answer. "Patience, sir." Velnus stared at him for a long moment, then dismissed him with a wave. Outside the training hall, Doyen found his only friend at the academy. Hana Choi sat on a bench reviewing tactical data on her tablet. She was human too, from a city on Earth. She was smarter than anyone Doyen had ever met, and she had scored in the top 10% on every academy test. "I heard you passed," Hana said without looking up. "Yes." "Tarek failed. He is angry." She finally met his eyes. "Be careful. Angry warriors make stupid decisions." Doyen nodded and sat beside her. They did not talk much after that. They did not need to. Being the only 2 humans at an academy of 3,000 alien cadets created a bond that needed no words. 3 days later, the entire academy gathered in the main assembly hall. 5,000 cadets and officers filled the vast space. Doyen stood near the back with Hana, wondering what announcement required everyone's presence. Commandant Threxus appeared on the raised platform. The massive insectoid leader of the academy rarely showed himself. His compound eyes reflected the light like jewels, and his forearms moved with careful precision. "We gathered today to announce a special trial," Threxus said. His voice came through speakers, translated instantly into every language. The Apex Challenge has been approved. Silence fell across the hall. Then whispers began growing louder. Hana grabbed Doyen's arm. No, she whispered. They cannot be serious. What is the Apex Challenge? Doyen asked quietly. A death sentence, Hana said. It has not been used in decades. A cadet faces 3 of the galaxy's deadliest creatures in single combat. Most die. Those who survive are changed forever. Instructor Velnus stepped forward. The challenge was created to test true warriors. To prove that skill, courage and will matter more than species or size. Any cadet may volunteer. But know this, you will face the Rendax, the Thornweaver, and the Void Screamer. You will face them alone. You will likely die. More whispers. Some cadets looked excited. Most looked terrified. Tarek pushed through the crowd to the front. His blue and green scales caught the light as he climbed onto a lower platform where everyone could see him. I have a question, Tarek announced loudly. Why announce this challenge now? Is it because we have weak species among us? He turned and pointed directly at Doyen and Hana. Species that only survived because their world was soft? Because they never faced real predators? Because they are prey pretending to be warriors? Laughter rippled through parts of the crowd. Doyen felt Hana tense beside him, but he remained still. Tarek continued. Humans claim they belong in the coalition military, but they are fragile, slow, weak. I volunteer. The words came from Doyen's mouth before he fully realized he had spoken, but once they were out, he did not take them back. The hall went silent. Every eye turned to him. What did you say? Commandant Threxus asked. Doyen stepped forward, moving through the crowd. Cadets moved aside, creating a path. He walked until he stood in front of the platform, looking up at Threxus and Velnus. I volunteer for the Apex Challenge, sir. Hana appeared at his side. Doyen, no. You do not have to. Yes, I do, he said quietly. Then louder so everyone could hear. I volunteer. Threxus studied him with those strange compound eyes. You understand what you are accepting, Cadet Doyen? Yes, sir. You will face 3 creatures that have killed trained warriors. You may choose any weapon available in our armory. You will receive 3 days to prepare, and you will very probably die. I understand, sir. Velnus leaned forward. Why? Doyen looked at Tarek, then at all the alien faces watching him. Because they need to understand what humans survived to get here. Threxus was silent for a moment. Then he nodded. The challenge is set. 3 days from now, Cadet Doyen will face the Apex Challenge in the Crucible. You are all dismissed. As the crowd began to disperse, Doyen felt the weight of what he had done. Hana stood beside him, her face pale. You just signed your death order, she said. Maybe, Doyen replied. Or maybe they need to learn something about prey. In the crowd, Instructor Velnus watched the human walk away. Something about the cadet's calm acceptance bothered him. It was not the calm of ignorance. It was the calm of someone who had already made peace with violence, the calm of a predator. Hana dragged Doyen through the corridors of Station Karis, her grip tight on his arm. Other cadets moved aside as they passed, staring at the human who had volunteered for certain death. Some looked curious. Others looked like they were already mourning. We are going to the archive, Hana said. You need to see what you are fighting. I know what I am fighting, Doyen said calmly. No, you do not. Hana's voice cracked slightly. You know names. You need to see them. Really see them. They entered the Xenobiology Archive, a massive circular room filled with holographic displays and data terminals. Shelves lined the walls containing physical specimens in preservation fields. The air smelled like chemicals and old metal. An elderly woman looked up from a terminal near the center of the room. Her hair was gray, tied back in a simple braid, and her eyes were sharp despite her age. She wore the uniform of an Academy civilian staff member. Hana, the woman said. Then her gaze shifted to Doyen. And you must be the cadet everyone is talking about. I am Sora Kim. I have been the archivist here for 15 years. You are human, Doyen said. One of 7 on this entire station, Sora replied. I heard what you did. Volunteering for the Apex Challenge, she paused. That was either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both, Doyen said. Sora almost smiled. Then her expression turned serious. Come. I prepared the files when I heard the news. You need to see what is coming for you. She led them to a private viewing room. The lights dimmed as she activated the main display. A holographic creature appeared in the center of the room, rotating slowly. It was massive, easily the size of an earth elephant with 6 powerful legs and a body covered in armor-like plates. The Rendax, Sora said, from the world Tarvos 9, which has 3 times Earth's gravity. Its armor can stop plasma fire. Its jaws can bite through starship hull plating. It can run at 80 kilometers per hour despite weighing 800 kilograms. The hologram showed footage of a Rendax in action. It charged through a military squad, scattering soldiers like toys. Energy weapons hit its armor and left barely a mark. One soldier tried to dodge, but the creature's speed was impossible. Its jaws closed around the soldier's midsection. Hana looked away. Doyen watched without blinking. It has one weakness, Sora continued. Under its jaw there is soft tissue, about the size of your fist. If you can pierce that spot and reach the brain, it dies instantly. But getting close enough means being within killing range. The hologram changed. A serpent-like creature appeared, long and sinuous, covered in crystalline spines that caught the light. The Thorn Weaver, Sora said. It hunts through seismic sensing, meaning it feels vibrations in the ground. It is blind but incredibly accurate. Those spines contain venom that causes paralysis in seconds. It can launch the spines with enough force to punch through combat armor. The footage showed a Thornweaver hunting. It lay perfectly still, looking like a natural formation. Then when prey stepped nearby, it erupted into motion. Spines flew through the air. The prey collapsed, paralyzed, and the Thornweaver took its time with the kill. Its weak point is the base of the skull, Sora said, between the armor plates. But you would need to be close enough to touch it, and its striking speed is faster than most species can track. Doyen leaned forward slightly, studying the creature's movement pattern. The hologram changed again. This time the image was harder to see. A shadow moved in darkness, barely visible even with enhanced imaging. The temperature display showed it was cold, much colder than the surrounding environment. The Void Screamer, Sora said quietly. The apex predator of Nyx 7, a moon with almost no sunlight. It hunts in total darkness. It moves almost silently. And it has psychic abilities. Psychic? Hana asked. It projects fear directly into the minds of its prey. Soldiers have gone mad just from being near one. Trained warriors freeze in terror, unable to move while it kills them. Sora paused. In 300 years of recorded encounters, no one has killed a Void Screamer in single combat. Not one person. The footage showed military operations against a Void Screamer. Entire squads fired into the darkness. Sometimes they hit it and it screamed, a sound that made Doyen's bones ache even through the recording. But it never stopped. It moved between soldiers like smoke, killing with claws that could tear through armor. In one video, a warrior simply stopped fighting. His weapon fell from his hands and he stood there staring at nothing while the Void Screamer approached. The video cut off before showing what happened next. Its weak point is unknown, Sora said, because no one who found it survived to report it. The hologram faded. The room lights came back up slowly. Hana sat down heavily in a chair, her face pale. Doyen remained standing, his expression unchanged. Now do you understand? Hana asked. Doyen, you cannot fight these things. No one can. Not alone. Doyen was quiet for a moment. Then he said, May I see the recordings again? Sora raised an eyebrow. Which one? All of them, but slower. For the next 2 hours, Doyen watched the footage. Sora slowed the playback, showing him every detail. Hana sat beside him, trying to understand what he was looking for. There, Doyen said, pointing at the Rendax footage, before it charges. See how its back legs tense? And its head lowers just slightly? Sora replayed the section. Yes, that is its preparation stance. How long between the stance and the charge? Sora checked the data. 0.7 seconds. Doyen nodded and said nothing more. He studied the Thornweaver next, watched how it sensed vibrations, how it positioned itself before striking. It always strikes toward the heaviest vibration source, he said. If there are multiple targets, it goes for the one moving the most. Correct, Sora said. How did you know? Snakes on Earth hunt the same way. Not exactly the same, but similar. With the Void Screamer footage, Doyen asked Sora to remove the enhanced imaging. Show me what a normal person would see. The footage became almost pure darkness. The Void Screamer was invisible. Now show me the air displacement patterns. Sora pulled up a different view showing how the creature's movement affected the air around it. Tiny disturbances, barely measurable. Doyen watched this for a long time. Finally, he said, It moves fast, but it still moves through space. It still displaces air. If you cannot see it, you feel it. Feel it how? Hana asked. The same way you feel someone standing behind you in a dark room. Your body knows something is there even if your eyes do not see it. Sora studied Doyen with new interest. You have thought about this before, about fighting things you cannot see clearly. In the mountains where I grew up, I walked home from school in the dark. Tigers lived in those mountains, bears, wolf packs. You learn to feel them before you see them, or you do not come home. This was the most Doyen had spoken since arriving at the academy. Hana stared at her friend, realizing how little she actually knew about his life before space. A door opened, and Instructor Velnus entered the archive. His large frame barely fit through the doorway. He looked at the frozen holograms, then at Doyen. So, the prey studies the predators. Yes, sir, Doyen said. And what have you learned? That they are very dangerous, sir. Clearly. Velnus moved closer, his yellow eyes fixed on Doyen. I came to give you a choice. You may withdraw from the challenge. Tarek has been disciplined for his disrespect. You have made your point. No one will think less of you for withdrawing. I will not withdraw, sir. You will die. Maybe. Velnus growled, a sound like distant thunder. Why do humans value pride over survival? It is not pride, sir. Doyen met the instructor's eyes without fear. On Earth we have a saying, if you run from the tiger chases. If you face the tiger, sometimes the tiger leaves. And if the tiger does not leave, then at least you die facing it. That matters to humans. Velnus stared at him for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He bowed his head slightly, just a few degrees. A gesture of respect in Scarith culture. Perhaps I underestimated your species, Cadet. I hope you survived to prove me wrong further. He turned and left. After he was gone, Sora said, he has never done that before. Shown respect to a cadet. First time for everything, Doyen said. That night, Hana walked Doyen back to the human quarters. At the door, she stopped him. Promise me something, she said. What? Promise me you will try to survive. Really try. Not just prove a point, survive. Doyen looked at his friend. I promise. She hugged him quickly, then disappeared into her room before he could see her cry. Alone, Doyen sat on his bed and thought about home. About mountains and tigers and the grandmother who taught him to read animal tracks in the snow. She would have liked this challenge, he thought. She always said the best way to stop being prey was to remember that predators could be prey too. Everything that hunts can be hunted. Everything that kills can be killed. He just needed to find the right moment. The right opening. The small space between life and death where skill mattered more than strength. He closed his eyes and began to breathe slowly, the way his grandmother taught him. In the silence, he prepared his mind for what was coming. 3 days would pass quickly. The day of the challenge arrived with no ceremony. Doyen woke before dawn, though dawn meant nothing on a space station. He had slept well, which surprised him. His body knew how to rest before danger. His ancestors had passed that skill down through thousands of years. He dressed in the standard combat armor, black and gray, fitted to his smaller human frame. The armor would stop some attacks, not all, not the ones that mattered. In the armory, a quartermaster waited. The alien said nothing as Doyen selected his weapons. Most cadets would have chosen heavy plasma rifles, explosive charges, energy shields. The armory held weapons from 100 worlds, each designed to kill efficiently. Doyen picked up a simple kinetic blade, 40 centimeters long, balanced perfectly, sharp enough to cut through most materials. It was old technology, the kind that humans had used for thousands of years before they ever left Earth. He tested the weight, made a few practice movements, and nodded. That is all? The quartermaster asked, surprised. And a sidearm, Doyen said, selecting a basic kinetic pistol, standard ammunition. You face apex predators with a knife and a pistol? Yes, the quartermaster shook his head but said nothing more. Humans were strange. Everyone knew this. The walk to the crucible took 10 minutes through corridors packed with cadets. Word had spread across the entire station. Everyone wanted to see the human face the Apex challenge. Some came to watch courage. Others came to watch death. The result would be the same. The crucible was enormous, a circular arena 50 meters across with walls that rose 20 meters high. Seating surrounded it in tiers and every seat was full. Doyen estimated 5,000 beings watching. Maybe more. The noise of their voices, clicks, hums, and growls created a sound like an ocean. Hana found him outside the entrance. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice stayed steady. "You do not have to do this," she said one last time. "I know." "Then why?" Doyen looked at the entrance to the arena. "Because if I die, at least they will remember that a human tried. And if I live, they will remember something else." "What?" "That we are not prey anymore." He hugged her quickly, then walked toward the entrance. Behind him, Hana whispered a prayer in Korean, something their grandmothers had taught them. Old words for new worlds. Medical Officer Jiho Bei waited inside the entrance tunnel with his equipment. He was human. Transferred to the station 2 months ago, he looked at Doyen with professional sympathy. "I am here to help if you survive," Jiho said. "My equipment is the best in the coalition." "Thank you. Your biometrics will be monitored throughout the challenge. If your heart stops, the challenge ends immediately and I extract your body." He paused. "I am sorry, I cannot do more." "You are doing enough." Doyen walked into the tunnel. The noise from the arena grew louder. His heartbeat stayed calm and regular. Jiho watched the biometric display and frowned. The human's heart rate was barely elevated. Either he was in shock, or he was the calmest person Jiho had ever monitored before combat. The tunnel opened into the arena, and suddenly Doyen stood in the center of an enormous space. The crowd noise hit him like a wave. Thousands of alien faces looked down. He saw Hana in the lower seats sitting beside Zora Kim. He saw Instructor Velna standing in the officers' section. Arms crossed, he saw Tarek near the front. The Vrin cadet's expression unreadable. Commandant Threxus stood in the highest box, all 4 arms spread wide. His voice boomed through speakers. "Cadet Doyen of Earth, you have volunteered for the Apex Challenge. 3 beasts will test you. Victory means killing all 3. Defeat means death. There is no other outcome." He paused. "The arena is sealed. The challenge begins when the first gate opens. May your ancestors watch over you." The crowd fell silent, every eye fixed on Doyen, alone in the center of the arena. He looked small and fragile in that vast space. His armor seemed thin. His weapons seemed inadequate. He stood perfectly still, breathing slowly, and waited. A gate on the far side of the arena began to open. Metal scraped against metal, echoing through the space. Behind the gate, something moved. Something massive. The Rendax emerged into the light. It was bigger in person than any hologram could show. 800 kilograms of muscle armor and killing instinct. 6 legs that could run down anything in its path. Jaws that could crush steel. It looked at Doyen with eyes that showed no emotion. Just hunger. The creature roared and the sound shook the air. In the stands, some younger cadets flinched. The Rendax was death given physical form, and everyone watching knew it. Everyone except Doyen. He watched the creature with the same calm attention he had shown in the archive. He saw how it moved, how it tested the ground with its front legs, how its head swayed slightly as it assessed him. The Rendax began to circle, moving right. Doyen turned with it, keeping the creature in front of him. His hand rested on his blade, but he did not draw it yet. In the medical station, Jiho stared at his instruments. Doyen's heart rate had barely changed. His breathing remained steady. This was impossible. No one stayed calm facing a Rendax. The creature stopped circling. Its back legs tensed. Its head lowered slightly. There it was. The tell. The tiny moment before the charge. The Rendax launched forward with terrifying speed. The distance between them vanished in less than 2 seconds. Its jaws opened wide enough to swallow Doyen's entire torso. Doyen moved, not backward, not to the side, forward. He stepped into the charge, inside the creature's striking range, too close for the jaws to angle properly, too close for the creature to adjust its massive momentum. His blade came out in a smooth, practiced motion. Reverse grip, edge up. As the Rendax's head passed overhead, jaws snapping at empty air, Doyen's blade drove upward into the soft tissue under the jaw. He knew exactly where to strike. He had watched the footage 200 times. He had measured the distance, calculated the angle. His grandmother had taught him to hunt, and hunting meant knowing anatomy, knowing where life lived in flesh. The blade pierced the soft tissue and continued upward into the brain. The Rendax's momentum carried it forward, crashing past Doyen and into the arena wall. The impact shook the ground. The creature slid down the wall and lay still. Total time, 1.3 seconds. The arena went completely silent. Doyen withdrew his blade and turned to face the center of the arena again. His breathing remained steady. He did not celebrate, did not acknowledge the kill. He simply waited for the second gate to open. In the stands, 5,000 beings sat frozen in shock. Hana had her hands over her mouth, eyes wide. Sora Kim leaned forward, her analytical mind already trying to understand what she had witnessed. Instructor Velnus uncrossed his arms, slowly. His yellow eyes were locked on the human standing alone in the arena. He had seen thousands of fights in his long military career. He had never seen anything move quite like that. The human had not fought the Rendax, he had executed it. Tarek stared down at the arena, his earlier arrogance completely gone. The mocking words he had spoken felt hollow now. The human had just killed an apex predator in the time it took to breathe twice. Ambassador Yuna Lee sat in the diplomatic section, tears streaming down her face. She represented Earth to the Coalition, and for 20 years she had fought to be taken seriously. In 1.3 seconds, a cadet from the mountains had done more for humanity's reputation than 1,000 diplomatic meetings. Commandant Threxes leaned forward in his observation box. His compound eyes focused on Doyen with new interest. The human had not panicked, had not relied on luck or desperate strength. He had simply found the exact moment when the Rendax was most vulnerable and placed his blade precisely where it needed to be. This was not luck. This was something else. Jiho Bei checked his medical instruments again, certain they were malfunctioning. Doyen's heart rate had spiked during the brief encounter, but only slightly. It was already returning to normal. The human was not panicking. He was not even afraid. He was hunting. The second gate began to open. Doyen watched it without expression. His blade was still in his hand, blood from the Rendax dripping slowly from the edge. He made no move to clean it. The blood did not matter, only the next creature mattered. The gate opened wider, but nothing emerged immediately. The Thornweaver was not like the Rendax. It did not charge. It did not roar. It hunted with patience and intelligence. Slowly, a serpentine form slid into the arena. Crystal spines caught the light, creating rainbow patterns along its body. The Thornweaver coiled in the shadows near the wall, testing the environment. The crowd remained absolutely silent. No one wanted to miss what happened next. Doyen closed his eyes. Some in the crowd gasped, thinking fear had finally broken him. But Hana knew better. She had seen him do this before in training. He was not giving up. He was listening. The Thornweaver circled, its body making almost no sound as it moved. But almost no sound was not the same as no sound at all. Doyen's ears tracked the whisper of scales on stone, the tiny clicks of crystal spines touching each other. He felt the vibrations in the ground through his boots, felt where the creature moved by the small tremors it could not avoid creating. The Thornweaver stopped. Even with eyes closed, Doyen knew it had found a striking position. He could feel its presence, could sense the moment when stillness would break into violence. 3 spines launched through the air with a sound like breaking glass. Doyen moved before the sound reached the stands. The Thornweaver writhed in Doyen's grip, its powerful body trying to coil around him. Crystal spines clattered against his armor, unable to penetrate at this angle. The creature was strong, far stronger than any human. But strength meant nothing if it could not be properly applied. Doyen had grown up wrestling boars that his village hunted, had learned from his grandfather how to control animals far larger than himself. The principle was always the same. Control the head, control the body. Use their momentum against them. He pivoted his entire body, adding his weight to the Thornweaver's own speed, and slammed the creature's head into the arena wall. The impact was devastating. Crystal spines shattered, spraying fragments across the floor. The creature's body spasmed once, then went rigid. Before it could recover, Doyen's blade found the gap between armor plates at the base of the skull, exactly where Sora had shown him in the archive. The blade penetrated, severed the spinal column, and the Thornweaver went limp. Total time, 2.1 seconds. Doyen released the creature and stepped back. His breathing was slightly elevated now, but still controlled. He had taken no damage. No spines had found their mark. He rolled his shoulders once, loosening muscles, and turned to face the center of the arena. The crowd erupted, not in celebration, but in something between shock and disbelief. The sound was deafening, a mixture of every emotion from 5,000 beings trying to process what they were witnessing. 2 apex predators lay dead. The human stood unmarked. In the officers' section, Instructor Velnus had his hands on the railing, leaning forward as far as his large frame would allow. His combat instincts were screaming at him. This was not luck. This was not even skill, at least not in any way he had been taught to recognize. This was something primal, something ancient. The human moved like prey that had evolved past fear, like something that remembered being hunted and decided to become the hunter instead. Ambassador Yuna Lee was standing now, tears still on her face but with a fierce pride burning in her eyes. Every year she had listened to coalition members talk about humanity as the weak link, the species that needed protection, the ones who barely qualified for membership. Never again. After today, no one would question what humans were capable of. Sora Kim watched from her seat with the analytical mind of a scientist. She was already writing the paper in her head, documenting what she was seeing. The human nervous system, evolved on a death world, processed threats differently than other species, faster in some ways, more instinctive. Humans did not think their way through danger. They felt it, acted on instincts honed by millions of years of surviving alongside creatures that wanted to eat them. Hana sat frozen, her hands gripping the seat so tightly her knuckles were white. She had known Doyen for 2 years, had studied beside him, talked with him, considered him a friend. But she had never truly understood where he came from until this moment. She was from a city, raised in safety and comfort. Doyen was from the mountains, from a place where humans still remembered how to hunt and be hunted. She realized now that every quiet moment, every patient silence had been him carrying the wild places with him into the stars. Tarek could not look away from the arena. His species, the Vryn, were apex predators on their own world. They had evolved as hunters, taking pride in their physical superiority. He had mocked humans as weak because they had no natural weapons, no thick scales, no venomous bite. He understood his mistake now. Humans did not need natural weapons. They had made themselves into weapons. Every part of their bodies, every instinct, every movement was refined by the crucible of Earth's most dangerous environments. The third gate began to open, and the arena fell silent again. This time the silence was different. It was heavy with dread. The Rendax had been terrifying. The Thornweaver had been deadly. But the Void Screamer was something else entirely. It was the nightmare that made nightmares afraid. The lights in the arena began to dim, not all at once but gradually, creating patches of shadow that grew and merged. The temperature dropped noticeably, cold enough that breath would have missed it if the arena had been full atmosphere instead of controlled environment. The gate was fully open now, but nothing emerged. Just darkness beyond darkness and a cold that had nothing to do with temperature. Doyen stood in the center of the arena, blade still in hand. His eyes scanned the shadows, but there was nothing to see. Not yet. The Void Screamer was hunting, testing, learning about its prey before committing to attack. A sound echoed through the arena. Not quite a scream, not quite a vibration. Something that resonated in the skull and triggered instant primal terror. In the stands, several younger cadets fainted despite being protected by energy barriers. Others gripped their seats, fighting the urge to run. The sound affected everyone differently based on their species, but the result was the same. Pure, instinctive fear. The kind of fear that turned warriors into victims, that made weapons drop from numb fingers, that froze muscle and bone. Jihobei watched his medical monitors with growing alarm. Doyen's heart rate had spiked sharply when the sound hit. His stress hormones flooded his system. His pupils dilated. Every indicator showed a fear response. But Doyen did not freeze. His grandmother had taught him about fear when he was young. She had taken him into the mountains during winter, where tigers hunted, had made him stand still while wolves called in the distance, had taught him that fear was not the enemy. Fear was information. Fear was his body warning him to be ready. Fear was useful. He felt the terror washing over him, acknowledged it, and then set it aside. His heart pounded, but his hands stayed steady. His breathing was fast but controlled. Fear would not stop him. It would make him sharper. The Void Screamer emerged from the gate, and even in the dim light it was hard to see clearly. Its body seemed to absorb light, making it look more like a moving void than a physical creature. It was massive. easily 3 meters tall with limbs that ended in claws designed to tear through anything soft. It circled the arena slowly, studying Doyen. Its psychic pressure increased, pushing waves of terror ahead of it. Most beings would have collapsed by now, mind broken by fear. Doyen closed his eyes again. Not to block out the fear, but to focus past it. He could not see the creature anyway, not clearly. His eyes would lie to him in this darkness, but his other senses would not. He felt the cold spot where the creature moved, felt the tiny displacement of air as something massive shifted through space, heard the whisper-quiet sound of claws touching stone. His grandmother's voice echoed in his memory. The tiger makes no sound, but you will know where it is. Your body will tell you. Trust your body. The void screamer moved faster now, circling closer. The psychic scream intensified. In the stands, more cadets were fainting. Even trained officers were gripping their seats, fighting their own instincts to flee. Commandant Threxus leaned forward, all 4 arms tense. He had authorized this challenge, and now he wondered if he had sent a cadet to a fate worse than death. The void screamer did not always kill quickly. Sometimes it played with prey, feeding on their fear until their minds broke. But the human still stood, still breathed, still waited. The void screamer struck. It moved in total silence, faster than thought. Its claws reached for Doyen's throat, aiming to sever the spine and end this quickly. Doyen's body moved before his mind registered the threat. Pure instinct, honed by millions of years of human evolution, guided his blade. He did not think about the strike, did not plan it. His arm simply moved, guided by the same instincts that had kept his ancestors alive when saber-toothed cats hunted in the dark. The blade flashed in a horizontal arc at neck height, precisely where his combat instincts told him something vital would be. The void screamer, mid-strike, ran directly into the blade. The creature's momentum carried it forward. The blade, positioned perfectly, cut through the soft tissue of the throat. The void screamer's psychic scream cut off abruptly, replaced by a very physical sound of shock. It crashed past Doyen, claws missing by centimeters, and collapsed 10 meters away. Black blood pooled on the arena floor. The creature twitched once, twice, then lay still. Total time, 0.7 seconds. The lights came back up slowly. Doyen stood in the center of the arena, blade held steady, breathing hard now. The fear was draining from his system, leaving him slightly shaky but standing. Around him lay 3 of the galaxy's deadliest predators, all dead. The arena remained silent for 1 heartbeat. 2. 3. Then it exploded. The sound was beyond description. 5,000 beings from 100 worlds all making noise at once, roaring, clicking, whistling, humming in approval and shock and disbelief. The sound shook the walls. Cadets were on their feet, some jumping, some dancing, some simply standing in shock. Officers who had fought in wars across the galaxy were applauding with genuine respect. Even species that had no concept of applause were expressing approval in their own ways. Hana was crying and laughing at the same time, holding on to Sora Kim for support. The elderly archivist had tears in her eyes too, her professional composure completely gone. Instructor Velnus was shouting something in Skarath that translated roughly to a warrior's prayer of respect. His voice was lost in the noise, but his meaning was clear. He had been wrong about humans. They all had been. Tarek stood frozen, then slowly raised his hand. Doyen stood before Commandant Threxus, still breathing hard from the fights. The adrenaline was fading from his system now, leaving his muscles slightly shaky, but he remained upright, meeting the Commandant's compound eyes without fear. Threxus continued, his voice carrying to every corner of the arena. Earth is classified as a Class 7 death world in our databases. High gravity, extreme weather, tectonic instability, and more apex predators per square kilometer than any other known inhabited world. Humans did not simply survive Earth. They thrived there. They spread to every environment, from frozen poles to burning deserts. They learned to hunt every predator that hunted them. He turned to address the crowd. We forgot this. We looked at humans and saw soft skin, weak bones, no natural weapons. We forgot that a species does not need claws if they can make knives, does not need armor if they can make strategy, does not need size if they have patience. Threxus turned back to Doyen. You have honored your world, Cadet, and you have taught the galaxy a lesson we needed to learn. The Commandant bowed his head, a gesture of respect that sent ripples of shock through the crowd. Then he raised one arm and declared, "The Apex Challenge is hereby retired." It has served its purpose. The crowd erupted again, but this time the noise was different. It was celebration, respect, understanding. Hana pushed through the crowd and ran onto the arena floor. She crashed into Doyen, hugging him so tightly he almost lost his balance. He hugged her back, finally allowing himself to feel the relief of survival. "You idiot," she said into his shoulder, her voice muffled. "You beautiful idiot. I thought you were going to die." "Me too," Doyen admitted quietly, "several times." Sora Kim approached more slowly, her scientific mind already processing everything she had witnessed. "I need to interview you," she said. "Extensively. What you just did, the way you moved, it will change how we understand human combat psychology." "Later," Hana said, not releasing Doyen. Much later. Medical Officer Jiho Bei arrived with his equipment, scanning Doyen quickly. "No injuries," he said, sounding amazed. "Minor elevated stress hormones, but already returning to baseline. Remarkable." He looked at Doyen with something like awe. "You are either the luckiest or the most skilled person I have ever monitored." "Neither," Doyen said. "I just did what my grandmother taught me." "Your grandmother taught you to fight void screamers?" "No, she taught me to hunt. The principle is the same." Instructor Velnus approached, his large frame parting the crowd. He stopped in front of Doyen and studied him for a long moment. Then he spoke in his native Scarith language, something the translator implant rendered as, "You are claimed by death but not taken. Walk as a warrior." It was the highest compliment a Scarith could give. "Thank you, sir," Doyen replied. "I have trained warriors for 40 years, Velnus said. "I have never seen anyone move the way you moved today. Your timing was perfect. Too perfect. How?" Doyen thought about how to explain it. "Where I come from, my grandmother taught me to hunt in the mountains. She said that every animal has a tell, a small sign before they move. A tiger's ears twitch before it pounces. A bear shifts its weight before it charges. A wolf's eyes focus just before it lunges. If you learn to see these tells, you know what is coming before it happens. And you saw these tells in creatures you had never faced before. All predators are similar in some ways. They cannot help it. The body must prepare before it can act. There is always a moment between intention and action. That is where the opening is." Velnus nodded slowly. "We train our warriors to be faster, stronger, more aggressive. Perhaps we should train them to be more patient." Tarek approached hesitantly, his blue and green scales looking dull in the arena lights. He stopped a respectful distance from Doyen and stood there, clearly struggling with what to say. Finally, he spoke. "I was wrong. About humans. About you. I spoke from ignorance and arrogance, and I nearly caused your death with my words." Doyen looked at him calmly. "You did not cause anything. I made my choice, but if I had not spoken, if you had not spoken, they still would have thought humans were weak. Now they know differently, so in a way you helped." Doyen extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting. "We start again, yes?" Tarek stared at the offered hand, then gripped it firmly. In Vryn culture, touching another's weapon hand was a sign of trust. "Yes, we start again, and I will tell everyone I know that humans are not prey." "We were prey once," Doyen said, "a long time ago. But we learned." Ambassador Yuna Lee made her way through the crowd, flanked by her diplomatic staff. She looked at Doyen with fierce pride and relief. "Cadet," she said formally, "you have done more for human coalition relations in 5 minutes than I have accomplished in 20 years. Earth will hear about this within the hour. Your family will be very proud." Doyen thought of his grandmother in the mountains, probably tending her garden or tracking deer through the forest. "She already knows," he said. "She taught me everything I needed." "Then I must meet her someday," Yuna said. "Any woman who can raise someone like you deserves recognition." "She would laugh at that," Doyen said. "She does not believe in recognition, only in surviving." The crowd was beginning to disperse, though many cadets remained, wanting to see the human who had beaten the Apex Challenge. Some asked for permission to approach, offering respect in their various cultural ways. Others simply watched from a distance, their opinions about humans forever changed. Commandant Threxus remained in the arena, observing. When most of the crowd had left, he approached Doyen once more. "I have a question," the Commandant said. "When you faced the Void Screamer, you closed your eyes. Why?" "Because seeing was not useful in that fight," Doyen replied. The creature moved too fast and too quietly for eyes to track. So I used everything else. Temperature change, air displacement, sound, instinct. My ancestors hunted in darkness for thousands of years. That skill does not disappear just because we have lights now. Threxes considered this. Your species spent millions of years as prey, being hunted by creatures larger and stronger. Then you became hunters yourselves, but you never forgot what it was like to be prey. That memory, that fear became a weapon. Yes, Doyen said simply. Fascinating. Threxes turned to leave, then paused. The Coalition has many worlds, Cadet. Many species. But only one death world that produced a persistence predator intelligent enough to reach the stars. Remember that. Your people are unique in the galaxy. After the Commandant left, only Doyun, Hana, Sora, and Jiho remained in the arena. The bodies of the three creatures had been removed for study. Blood still stained the floor, but cleaning crews would arrive soon. What happens now? Hana asked. Now I finish my training, Doyen said. Graduate, serve. You are going to be famous, Jiho said. This footage will be seen on every Coalition world. You understand that, right? Doyen looked uncomfortable. I did not do this for fame. I know, Sora said gently. You did it because someone needed to prove that humans belong here. But fame will come anyway. Use it well. How? Make sure the next humans who join the Coalition military are judged fairly. Make sure Earth is respected. Make sure no one forgets what you proved today. Doyun nodded slowly. He had not thought that far ahead. He had only focused on surviving the next fight, then the next. But Sora was right. This would change things. I should call home, he said. My grandmother will want to know I am alive. She does not already know? Hana asked. Doyen smiled, a rare expression for him. She probably does. She always knows. But I should call anyway. They walked out of the arena together, leaving the blood-stained floor behind. Tomorrow the station would talk about nothing else. Within a week, every Coalition world would know the story. Within a month, human recruitment to the military would triple. But for now, Doyen just wanted to hear his grandmother's voice and tell her that her lessons had kept him alive one more time. In the days that followed, life at the academy changed. Human cadets were no longer dismissed or mocked. Some alien cadets even asked to train with them, wanting to learn human fighting techniques. Instructor Velnus requested permission to add Pursuit Predator tactics to the curriculum. Sora Kim published her paper titled Persistence, Predation, and Human Combat, Psychology, which became required reading, not just at the academy, but throughout Coalition military training. The paper documented how humans evolved to track prey over long distances, to pattern-match predator behavior, to remain calm under sustained fear, and to exploit split-second opportunities. The footage of Doyen's challenge was analyzed frame by frame. Military theorists wrote papers about his movement patterns. His total combat time, 4.1 seconds across 3 fights, became a case study in efficiency and timing. But Doyen himself changed very little. He continued training, studying, and speaking only when necessary. He helped other human cadets adjust to academy life. He shared what he knew about reading patterns and finding tells in combat. When asked about his achievement, he always said the same thing. I just did what needed to be done. Hana graduated top of her class in tactical planning and was immediately recruited by Coalition intelligence. She would go on to become one of the most respected strategic minds in the galaxy, always keeping a photo of a mountain village on her desk. Tarek became one of Doyen's closest friends and eventually commanded a